Hi, I'm Jamie from Airoh. I'm here down at MX store today to go through the entire range of Airoh helmets with you. Let's get into it. What we're going to start off here is the Aviator 3. This is the top of the range helmet, 100% handmade in Italy. There's 4 shell sizes. It's made of HPC. HPC is high performance composite, so it's a mixture of composite fibers which makes it not only light but also extremely strong. The shell itself is wind tunnel tested and also designed for the glance off effect. So what that means is the way the shell is designed is in the event of a crash, the helmet will come down and it'll glance off. There's no sharp or square edges that can catch, which can cause worse injuries in the event of a crash. This peak itself also has self-shearing screw heads. So what that also means is in the event of a crash, if the peak hits first, the top of these screw heads will shear off, the peak will shear off, again giving you that nice rounded shell which prevents any grabbing, stopping and really reduces any effects of a crash. The liner is micro antibacterial. The liner itself is also handmade in Italy. So what this does is it moisture wick, brings the sweat away from the face, also keeps it antibacterial. In through there though is also the AMS squared plus system. So what this is the rotational protection system inside the helmet. So what this consists of is 2 different layers. We have EPS on the outside and EPP on the inside. The EPP is similar to like a memory foam. In between that, we have elastopolymers and a central dampening ring. So what that means is in the event of a crash, not only can it go from side to side, but also it acts as a suspension. But one of the main key features of this is even while under full compression, it can still rotate. While some other ones only rotate or do suspension, this does both. The other good thing about it too, and with the liner, is a full magnetic liner. So nice and simple to change everything. It goes straight in after a race, after a moto, pop it out, pop it straight back in. The other thing too, as you can see up through here and through the bottom, is the air vent system. So there is vents all through the top here, all through the front, and all through the back. So the airflow through this is second to none. It is absolutely phenomenal in hot temperatures. Not only do you get all this helmet and all the features of it, but when you buy it, it comes with the race pack. So the idea of this helmet is identical to what your Muskin, your Anderson, your Cairoli, what all the top guys wear. The only difference between theirs and yours is that theirs is made exactly to fit their head with the liner size. So with the race pack, you get the peak extender, you get the top louvered vents which come over the top here. You have extra self-shearing screws as well. You also have little vent things here. They're called the plugs. They'll go in top of here. So in cold conditions, that literally means that it will stop a lot of the airflow and restrict it. The foam used in the ventilation also acts to attract pollens, allergens. So not only does it help stop the dust going through, it attracts the dust to it, which literally means it will filter the air as it goes through the helmet. It also comes with the GoPro mount. So the GoPro mount sits at the top of the helmet here. The thing about this GoPro mount is it's actually homologated under the ECE 22.05. So as long as it's put in the correct position, which comes in the pamphlet in the box, it is actually fully road legal to use in Australia. Also on top of that, you also have the key here, this little keychain and lanyard. With that key, it basically helps you undo every single bolt on this helmet. So if you have a crash and need to replace parts, it's quite easy to do. And of course, it also comes with a separate nose guard. So if the nose guard is a bit close to your face, you can change it to a separate nose guard. And as I mentioned before, in this box, you can see you have all the spare screws. So if any screws or anything comes out of the helmet, you can quite easily replace it with inside this kit. The final bit, one of the most important in this kit, is the bumper system. So what this does, it actually attaches to the side of the helmet here. And this basically helps you if you wear a neck brace and you're in the event of a crash, where it goes from side to side. This helps add suspension to the side of the helmet, which really reduces the impact to the collarbone to avoid breakage. But of course, if you're not wearing the neck brace, you can just run it as it is without the extra restriction. So next in the range, we have the Aviator Ace. So this helmet is also a HPC composite helmet. It also has the wind tunnel tested shell. It also has designed for the glance off effect and the self-shearing screws. So similar to the Aviator 3, it has all the main safety features you want in the shell. The ventilation as well is also top of the range with the filter in there as well, similar to the Aviator 3, which is across the entire range. That attracts the dust and allergens to it itself. Inside the helmet, we have a similar antibacterial moisture wicking liner, has emergency pull tabs on the cheek pads, so in the event of a crash, you can pull them out to avoid any strain on the neck and removing the helmet. The rotational system is slightly different in this helmet, where it's actually in the liner itself and not inside the shell in the EPS. So what it is called the ASN. So what that does is actually 2 separate fabrics that work similar to a sliding system, whereas one's different to the other and they slide separately. So it works on rotational but not suspension. And that's why it's the next one down from the Aviator 3 helmet. Okay, so the next helmet in the range is the Striker helmet. So this one here, again, is the HPC composite. Again, the shell is wind tunnel tested, designed for the glance-off effect, self-shearing screws, all the safety features as all the predecessors. Also with this, it has a similar moisture wicking liner, the emergency pull cheek pads, and also the filter for the dust to attract the particles and the allergens and filter the air. The difference with this one too, as one of the newer ones to the range, is it has an AMS squared system. So slightly different to the AMS Plus, which is in the Aviator 3. It has the dampening ring, the elastic polymers, creates the suspension and the rotational. The main difference is in the Aviator 3, you had EPS outer shell and EPP inner shell. This is just EPS outer shell and inner shell. From there, we go down to the Airoh Twist helmet. Twist 2.0, so this is the latest generation of the Twist helmet, one of the most popular helmets in the range. This shell is made of HRT, high resistance thermo. So what that is a special blend of poly, and what that does is it creates a nice light shell for a poly helmet, but also exceeds all the safety standards. So it's a fantastic helmet for your mid to entry level rider. Again, have the self-shearing screws, you have the aerodynamically tested shell, you also have the glance-off effect. The liner is also still antibacterial. It doesn't have a lot of the pull-out race features that a lot of the other helmets do, but it still has the ASN sliding system, so it helps for rotational impacts. Also, it still has the same filter system as all the range does that helps attract the dust, allergens, pollutants to it to filter the air for you as you're riding. And also, as all of them, double D rings and very good ventilation around the entire helmet. Moving on from the off-road helmets, we now have the Airoh Adventure helmet, the Commander. So the Commander helmet comes in the HPC, which is the high performance composite fibers. It's aerodynamically tested, wind tunnel tested, has the glance effect like all the helmets before it. It also has self-shearing screws underneath these covers here. So in the event of a crash again, peak, off, nice rounded helmet. Has very good ventilation, rear extractors on the top, ventilation along the front, plus a two-stage, very big ventilation on the front here. Again, with the special foam behind it, which attracts all the particles to it. Has a nice wide vision visor. The visor can come all the way up. The inner visor also has a great feature on it, where it comes down nice and easily, but it can be a bit hard to come up and down. What it actually does is it has a semi-locking mechanism in place. So what that means is when you go off-road, the inner visor is not going to come down. So that's a great feature to have, because you do not want that visor coming down when you go off-road. Also with this visor, you have the pin lock system, which is these little pins on the side here. What that creates is the pin lock goes inside. It's two plastic films basically, and it creates an air bubble in between the pin lock and the visor. And with the air bubble there, it makes it almost impossible for it to fog up in slow conditions, cold weather. It's the exact same technology that all the MotoGP races, superbikes, all the top road races in the world all use pin locks in their helmets. Another good feature about this, because it's on more of the road side, is the intercom system accessible. So the Bluetooth vent here, cover opens up here. What this does is allows you, if you have the Bluetooth system to sit on there, you can feed the wires through, depending on what type of Bluetooth system you have and how thick the wires are. You might still have to feed up underneath. And what it then has, it has a recess cut in behind the liner itself, behind the cheek pads there, where your speakers can sit. So that allows it to be Bluetooth accessible, depending of course on what Bluetooth system you run. Obviously you have the full antibacterial moisture wicking liner on the inside again. Another good main feature is the parts kit that comes with the helmet. So with this parts kit, you have a chin curtain, goes up underneath there. What that does is it stops a lot of the wind flow coming underneath, which helps reduce wind noise when you're going full speed on the highway. You also have multiple different GoPro mounts. And this is the booklet which explains not only the installation, but the fact that all of these, when installed correctly, are fully legal under the ECE, which also Australian standards, means you can use it on the road. So you have one mount, which attaches with the peak, one that goes when you take the peak off or at the back here. This one too, depending on what GoPro mount system you have, it can clip on and attach straight to this, which also attaches to some of these. The other really good feature about this helmet is the fact that it's not just an adventure helmet, it's a multi-use helmet. So it shows you on the visor there, which is nice and simple, but also I'll explain it more, is if you take the visor off, it's an off-road helmet. You take the peak off, leave the visor on, it becomes a Street Fighter helmet or a road helmet. Very popular in the Street Fighter use. So if you take this off, you just run the visor, you have plates you can use to cover up the sides, but also you have these plugs. So when you pop off all these things, you've got your screws underneath. These little plugs here then go into those screw holes. What it does is it creates the shell to be more aerodynamic, but also gives it a more aesthetic look as well. And the beauty of this is when it's in the Street Fighter or the road use, and even with this as well, it has a really good visor on it, very wide vision, so you get very good peripherals. And the thing about that is when you're on the highway or when you're off-road or anywhere, you can see side to side, up and down. Field of view like this, you will not get on the majority of road helmets out there. And also, with this wide vision visor, the beauty of it is too, you can actually get certain brands of goggles in underneath there, and you close the visor down. The reason a lot of adventure riders do this is if they're riding and it's very wet and muddy, If you're coming up to a puddle, you can quickly drop the visor down and the water will splash back up. The visor comes back up and then you can keep running with your goggles, so it allows more airflow through the opening of the helmet, but also allows it to keep everything out of your eyes. Well, there you have it. So that's the entire range of off-road and adventure helmets that we have here in Airoh. Make sure you check them out online or in store at mxstore.com.au.